Well, we unboxed the pixels, then we got distracted by new house projects. But I'm sure you can see them flashing in the background. Stay tuned to see how we got there. Alright, so in the unboxing videos when I got the pixels, I told you guys that I would give a little video on how I set them up to test. Well, I just moved my normal little testing device, which is a little controller from BTF Lighting, is packed. So we're going to use this Falcon F16 V3 that I had laying around. I think this is going to become my testing controller. This was the controller that ran the show at my parents' house this year, or last year, sorry. This year I put out 3 Culp controllers. In another video we'll go over, which one that I'm going to choose for my house. I haven't decided yet. Maybe I'll use both. For those that don't know, there are plenty of videos that go through the controller and what everything is. Okay, with that out of the way, let's see what else we have here. Now, the mounts for this were made off the Jadiation website. I actually went on, designed the mounting plate, and cut it out on my own CNC. We got our 12 volt power supply. This one is 12 volt 30 amp, made in China. This is already connected to a power pigtail, which, as you can see, is unplugged. So I can use my little screwdriver to point. I do have ground and 12 volt positive plugged in. I've got a little fuse board on here. This I used for power injection so it doesn't play into this. You'll notice my ground goes into a ground bus over here. I used to have a Raspberry Pi on here. And then I've got my 2 grounds right here for the main board. And of course I have some pigtails. We'll actually probably use 5. That should give me 100 on each port. Now let's get into plugging stuff in. It's always good to take a double note. Voltage, ground. Voltage, ground. That would be a pretty bad mistake. So we'll get these connected in. Okay, now we have that all plugged in. It is worth noting you actually should have a ground here. I don't for this purpose, but I do have some a fuse, sorry. For this purpose, I'm not throwing it in there, but I do have some automotive fuses that I do throw in there normally. The ones I had in here came out and went in the other controller boxes at my parents'. So you notice we got the ground, voltage, voltage, ground. Now, when I screw these on, I like to get them snug, and then I like to hold them with the pliers. Otherwise, these things kind of torque in here, and I just don't want to break a solder connection. Next, we're going to have to look at getting our pigtails connected up. For these purposes, as I said before, I'm going to use 5. And get this in there a little bit better. Doesn't have to be perfect. So I've got the 2 over here. So we'll call this one 1. This one's 2. It's not going to matter which is which for this purpose, as it's all going to be 100 lights. But then we'll add 3 more. So we'll have 3, 4, 5. And if we look really closely, if I can show it in there, right here. 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It also, in there, if you look really closely, labels which wire goes where. So we have voltage, data, clock in, ground. Now, what we have is WS 2811, so there is no ground. We'll just be using voltage, data, ground. And it's really good to have a pin out sitting somewhere, just so you make sure you get everything in the right spot. Saves on the troubleshooting. So we'll get these three connected up and I'll be right back. All right, so now we're gonna work on setting up the output ports for the F16 V3. First thing we need to do is we have to have it connected up to the internet. I have it connected up to my router, and we can connect to either one of these Ethernet ports up here. I just chose the left one. The other one does the same thing, but it's in there in case you want to daisy chain these controllers. So you can either look on the display on the controller itself and find the IP address, or you can look on your router. I have mine set up static, and there it is. One of the first things we need to do is go in here, and we're going to set this to absolute addressing. Then we're going to go to output settings, serial port, string ports, sorry. We're going to put in our start channels. So I got a start channel of 1. Remember, we're going up 5 ports. Then we're putting in our pixel count of 100 each. Now, each pixel has 3 channels. So 100 pixels would be 300 channels. Next one we're going to do is 301 times 100. Now we have 600. 601, 100 goes up to 900 channels. 901, 100 pixels. We're at 1200. Oops, 201, 100 pixels. So we have 1500 channels. 500 pixels, 1500 channels. And we're just going to get rid of this stuff. We'll just put 151. We'll just set these as blank. We just don't want the pixels to get mixed up. Now we're going to hit save. We'll take a double check. So we have 1 to 300, 300 to 600, 600 to 900, 1200, 1500. So these are our 5 channels right here. Our direction is forward. It's RGB. When we get into actually setting up a controller, which with Affilaite it's a little bit easier to do. And we will set them for 100% brightness. Yeah, you can control your brightness on here. I run my parent show at about 30%. So we'll resave that again. And then to test the inputs, we would come over here and we would enable, and we can choose what we want to do, which ports we want. Now, let's go see if it works. All right, now that we got the controller all set back up, you can see what I mean right here. Now, I'm not going to be sticking my screwdriver in here. We are all powered up, as you can see all the pretty lights. You can see right here, this is the display. It's hard to get a good view of it, but this would have the IP address on it. It also has the version. So right now, I've also got the controller software up over here. And I've got one set of pixels right here. Now it is important to note, an RGB pixel is an LED. An LED sends voltage one way. So if you plug things in backwards, they will not work. It won't break them, but they won't work. So if we look really closely, you see it has D1 ground, and it's hard to see the voltage. But this is the input side where it has D1 and ground. We turn it over, we see we've actually got the chip right there. That's the output side. So we want to make sure we have those connected up. Push stuff off. So we're going to connect it, and if you take notice on this, it's kind of hard, I'm running out of room here. We got the little notch there. And on the inside here, we have a little notch. So you really can't hook these up wrong. It just won't let you. And these are weatherproof connectors. Well, this one isn't because the O-ring fell out. I'll have to order some. And now we'll pretend we have an O-ring in there. We're waterproof. Now, let's see. Let's see if everything works. And we are up. That's one port. We will try another port, and actually, let me work on zooming this out. So we'll take this one over here. Plugged in, good to go. Next one. Seems we've run into a problem on port 5. We'll come back to it. We'll go over to this port. And we are all lit up. So we have 4 ports that are good. Let's go see what's wrong with our port 5. I don't see anything wrong with it. Could be our jumper and pigtail too. That one comes over to there. Let's go see what happens. Another thing we can do is just go over to port 6. See if it's the port or see if it's my connection. Oops. 100. Save. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that's why. I actually had this in port 6 already. And we have all 5 ports working. That's where it's important to know which port you're plugging it into. And as you see on some of these, I do label them. That's just from a label maker and then some clear shrink tube on it. Now let's add our pixels onto it. Remember, we were going to do 2 sets of 100. And this is actually bright and hard to see right now. Second set. So there's all those. Those. And you see what I mean when I'm plugging these in. I can't really see where they're going, but it doesn't let you plug it in wrong. And the last set. And you see the little O-ring, that's what makes it waterproof. And we have all our lights. I'll let you get a little better view of the lights themselves. Desk is getting a little bit messy here. Now we can go through and we can change what they do. Ramp up for red. Go all white. And you can see what voltage you're running in here and the temperatures you're running at. White ramp. Green. So that's what they're going to do for the next 24 hours. I'm just going to leave them on red, green, blue, and white. Let them run. And that is how I get them set to test. These will run for their 24 hours. I'm probably going to keep a couple strings, and I'm probably going to throw the rest on my website to sell them. So they will be there. These are the Paul Zhang pixels. So far, I don't see any problems on them. Nice, bright. No dead pixels yet that I've found. So we're in good shape. We'll catch you guys later. Alright, before we close the video out, I wanted to go through a couple of things that you saw laying around there. I know when I was first getting started, I was wondering what tools we needed, what pigtails I needed, what a pigtail was. Well, actually, I knew what a pigtail was, but some of the people I talked to that have seen the show at my parents' house or been interested didn't know what a pigtail was. So we'll start with that. Pigtail is basically a connector that you put on to your lights or coming out of the box. In my case, I had them coming out of the box. These were 3-core pigtails from Wired Watts, and by 3-core I mean 3 wires. Again, we've got the black wire as ground, we've got the yellow wire as data, and we've got the red wire as power. I'm colorblind, so hopefully I got those right. In my case, as previously mentioned, these are X-Connect pigtails, and I don't really have anything to compare them to, and actually all I have is the male pigtails at this point. One of my favorite tools that I use a lot when doing this, especially when connecting pigtails to their little jacks, I really like this Klein screwdriver. Phillips flathead, and it's got 2 different sizes of each. It's comfortable, it's perfect, it spins, great to use. When I'm doing larger work, I've got one of the Milwaukee screwdrivers. Same story. Actually, it's got the Torx ends on it too, and square ends. Another great tool, and in case you haven't noticed, I kind of like Milwaukee. I'll leave some links down in the description for some of the things I use. And in a future video, I was thinking about going through, I have a little box with stuff in it for working on lights. I'll go through that box and show you what else I use. Don't forget, if you like the videos, let me know what you liked. If you want to see other things, let me know. Let me know what you think. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, please.